Hello, everyone. It's been a few days since I made my last video, and I spoke about how I felt guided, and I knew that it was time for me to put my story out there. Well, a few days after, my higher self was telling me that I needed to put this story before my awakening. It's not just about my awakening. It's about how I grew up feeling unloved, how I felt like I needed to be quiet and easygoing to not get yelled at, not be in trouble. Pretty much just the trials that I had to go through that's made me who I am today. And I guess you could say was a cause and effect of my young adult life. I would say there's not too many parts about my childhood that I remember that's that big a deal to me, consciously anyways. But when I was 16, I had a boyfriend and I got pregnant, and my mother was saying that I had to have an abortion. I found out I was pregnant by going through a pregnancy crisis center, and while you're waiting for the test results, you have to watch a video about abortion, and it's not a good video. It was not. It traumatized me. Like, I was like, oh no. When my mother mentioned abortion, I was like, I'm not getting one of those, because it had a lot of horror stories about these women having abortions, and for years they would hear their baby cry. It was just terrible. So I was like, no, I'm not getting one of those. And I told her, I was like, if I got to be grounded, at least I'll have babies to keep me entertained in my bedroom, because she always grounded me for the rest of my life. But these babies were my everything. They were something that I could finally, all the love that I had in my heart, I could finally give it to them, and I was very scared and happy. And back then, there wasn't any pregnant people in high school. If they was, they would quit. They all quit, went to night school, did other things, but would not stay in school. I chose to stay in school. And I remember it was some people would be okay, but I got looked at a lot. But it didn't seem to bother me too bad. I just continued. And when I graduated, they were at my graduation, 6 months old. And I wanted to move out as soon as possible. It maybe was a month. I moved out of my parents' house and got my own place. And I was still 17 at that time, so I had to work like a fast food job. As soon as I turned 18, I got a factory job and was working 2 jobs. At this factory job, I met this woman. She was a couple years older than me, and she was different to me. I was curious, but also a little scared, because when she would get angry, she would show it. And I was a very timid person. If I had any emotion other than happiness, I would try not to show it. I would hold it back. She would not. She would be flippant out in front of everybody. I was like, oh my goodness, And we became friends and had a lot of fun times together. And I started having feelings for her. And before I knew it, I was in love, and didn't want to be without her. Later, I come to find out that she was a lesbian and always had been, but I didn't know that. I just knew that I liked her a lot. And eventually, she moves in with me. But before that happened, I just had a roommate. And my roommate one night had come to my door to see if I was up. And he heard me and her in the bedroom and told my family. And my mother was not happy, to say the least. Either way, she goes, and within a year, she gets the father to get involved, because in the state I live in, the grandparents do not have rights. She gets the father involved and gets him to get custody away from me. My girls were my everything. All the love that I had, I poured into them. They were my best friends. They were the reason that I did anything. They were the reason I worked 2 jobs, why I wanted to have a house, why they were everything to me. And I was young. They were my best friends, you know. And the father went to a lawyer and got a judge to sign a paper. And he pretty much said I was neglecting and living with a known lesbian. She wasn't known, she was in the closet. But, I mean, it was just lies. But he had the police to come to my house at 10 o'clock at night and get my babies. Had to tear them out of my arms. That about broke me. If we were breakable, I would have been broken. I wasn't the same after. I, of course, cried that night. Cried, screamed, freaked out. But the next day, I was like, okay, crying's done with. I've got to get to work. I've got to figure out how to get them back. So I sucked back the fact that my mother had disowned me, that she took my children that were my everything, and I couldn't see them. It wasn't like, oh, you get to see them in a couple of days or anything like that. I didn't get to see them at all. It was like months, 3 months before I got to see them, if not longer. And that might not be a long time, but to me, it was a lifetime. Like I said, I was young. I was 18 at that time. And maybe 19. Anyways, I started looking for a lawyer that would take payments, because I did not have money in the bank. And I had no one. All of those emotions I tucked away and started figuring out how to get them back. I eventually got joint custody, but it was maybe a year later, I started breaking out in these huge hives. I would be at work and they'd pop up on my face, they'd cover my back. I mean, just huge whelks. And I was thinking that I had gotten something that I was allergic to, because that happened throughout my childhood. And I had broke out in hives as a child too, and I didn't. Come to find out, it was the emotions that I withheld from releasing when my girls were taken and I was disowned by my family. Our emotions are very powerful, and if we don't release, it will manifest in physical, and not pretty either. It was terrible. But at that time, I did not realize it was my emotions. So eventually it went away. The highs did. I still didn't release the emotions. I did not deal with the problem. I was raised, you didn't cry. Crying meant you were weak. And I didn't ever want to be weak. Didn't want to be portrayed as weak. But maybe a year later, I broke up with my girlfriend and just wanted, since I had joint custody, and when my girls were with their father, I would go out and go to clubs, because that's something I didn't ever do. Drinking, just being wild and young. But I also feel like it was from suppressed emotions that I did not deal with when I should have. And eventually, I ended up experimenting with drugs and then narcotics. Narcotics got me. They stuck their claws in and held deep. By the time I was 27, I had finally got them away from me and was clean. And a few years later, this guy comes into my life, and he was someone that I knew when I was young. And he was someone that I liked a lot when I was young. We were actually, I don't know what we were, but more than friends when we were little, little boyfriend and girlfriend. And he was telling me all this stuff about how he's so great. And I bought it, and things were good for a while. And then he started doing narcotics. And then he would start asking me to do them. And I would say no, and I would nag him about doing them. I never wanted to be the kind of girlfriend that would nag their partner. I didn't want to push them away, because I wanted love. I wanted to be love. We're raised that when you grow up, that's what you do. You find a man or woman that will love you. And that's what I wanted more than anything. Just a family and a man that would love me, that I could love back. And it seemed like no matter what, I couldn't find that. Not a good man. But eventually he ended up pushing the narcotics on me and getting me hooked. Or no, I have to take responsibility for that. I did them, and I got addicted again. I couldn't stand it. I hated myself. It made me disgusted. Anytime I looked in the mirror, I was like, I can't do this. I can't live this way. So that was like when they had the clinics. And I go and start going to a clinic, which that's no different. It's just a way that they can charge you legally for your narcotic. But as a parent, I felt that I did not have time to be sick, that I needed something that would prevent me from being sick, where I could continue to do what I had to do, to be in the grind. So that was, I think, 2015. And I am still on that kind of medicine. Very tiny dose, very tiny. And there is a plant medicine that can get it out of your system, rewire your brain. It's not legal in the U.S., of course, but I would love to go do that one day. When I had my awakening, I was able to put down marijuana. Like, I just lost the urge for it. But the narcotic, it still has its claws in me. Like, for a while, I would beg the universe, please get it away. Please take this urge away. Take it to where I can get myself all the way off of it. I had this belief that it would hold me back from ascending, from having out of body, from having lucid dream. And I even had a person to tell me that it would. And it's not true. I've learned that. I'm sure that it does keep you from being as sensitive as you could be, just like chemicals in the food and stuff like that. But you can still be spiritual and still work on yourself, taking a medicine that maybe you feel that you need to take. I will always strive to be clean and clear of chemicals and anything that is not meant to be in the body. It's something I've had to deal with, and I'm sure that there's others out there that are also dealing with this. And I want you to know not to feel guilty. Don't feel bad or feel guilty, because that's, from what I have learned, that's the lowest vibration, is guilt. Everything happens for a reason. This universe is a beautiful symphony, and everything has a purpose. Your job to discover it. But I think that's all I want to say for this video. I will make another one. I was going to make this one sooner after I had worked and made plans with my daughter, but that we had a super new moon on the 14th of June. Whoa. I have worked very hard on myself to not react and observe, but I was reacting every 5 seconds. Anytime one of my children spoke to me, I was like, rah, 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 rah. You know, I was like PMSing is what it felt like, but I wasn't. I knew it was a release. It was a release of old energies. It was a release of something. It caused me to break out and freak out. But it happens. It happens when we're going through this ascension, and we've been through hell. We feel like we've been through hell in our life. We're going to have some ugliness to come out. It's okay. And my daughter, when I was talking to her before we had met, she was like, I feel like I'm snapping all the time at her girl. And I was like, me too, baby. I'm right there with you. And she was like, are you PMS? I said, no, I'm not. It's just this super new moon that we're having. I was like, we're releasing. And I think it took some weight off of her shoulders too. My girls are not awake yet, but I still tell them my point of view, my belief, and how they can make things better instead of trying to move things around in the physical, do it on an energetic level first. I don't know if they think I'm crazy, but I tell them it's okay if you think I'm crazy. But hang in there, everyone. You will make it through. If you've done work and you feel like you're falling back because you're being reactive or being sad or whatever it may be. You're just most likely releasing old patterns, and it's okay. It's part of the process, and I don't know how long it'll take. It took a few days for me. I was so snappy. I was like, I just need to be alone. I didn't want to be around people because I didn't want to be mean to anybody, but yeah, I just was. Just was. And please be patient with me with making these videos. This is complete new territory for me. I'm going to need to get equipment like a camera so I don't hold a phone. My teenage boy told me, he was like, Mom, do not be holding it this way because then you'll have bars on the side. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm holding it a different way. I liked it better when I had it propped up, but he said the bars was not a good thing, so whatever. I will do my best, and I feel like if you resonate with my words, that's what's important. I would not care if whoever I'm speaking to, if they have bars beside of them, as long as what they're saying helps me in a way that it needs to help me, you know. And I think that's about it. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for ascending and working on yourselves. We'll do it together. And this world is a beautiful place full of loving people, always striving to do and be better.